folks, and welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host PBO, and you're joining me on another edition of our Unsolved, the murders of Biggie and Tupac. This week we're tracking all the way up to episode 3, The Mack. So without further ado, let's roll this right off and let's kick this review and recap right on. Alright folks, so episode 3, The Mack. Overall, I gotta say it was definitely, of the three, the slowest and most just kind of conversational piece of the 3 episodes. This one had much more of the 2006 task force and the 1997 homicide team of Poole and his buddy. Basically, it's more of them doing interviews in rooms, seeing all the different people and trying to like figure out what's really going on. So the episode kicks off with a great tracking shot where you're seeing some money getting delivered to this bank, and you kind of don't really know what's going on, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the bank, they're tracking the money, and the bank's getting robbed, and it's getting robbed in this very smooth way. Guy rolls in, doesn't say anything, he's about to walk out. As soon as he's about to walk out, you got a second guy with them. He makes sure he takes out the security guard, takes his gun, and just like that, they're out of the bank, no one gets hurt. Smooth with 2 giant bags of cash. Well, we come find out that that's $772,000 they have in those bags. So we'll get back to that more later, because basically that is like the start point, and then we have the end point where they leave you, and then all the stuff in the middle. What I can say is this episode was very slow in the middle. I felt like it was missing a lot of the Tupac and Biggie stuff. It did show off a lot of the great stuff that happened in 1993 when Pac goes out there and he's about to start filming Above the Rim. And he goes out there to see Big, and he's hanging out with C's, and they're talking about stuff, and he's saying how he's going to play a Harlem gangster. And I freaking remember Above the Rim. I love that movie. And he plays like a Harlem kingpin on the streets, and he's really good in that role. So I guess they kind of are leaning towards the way that Pac was running with some of these unshady characters that was big in the New York scene, was because he was kind of doing research for his role, because that's what he does. He was a really good thespian. He was a really good actor. So I did like all those elements. I liked the little conversation at the beginning, and then they kind of broke them off in their own thing. So the majority of this episode takes place in the two forces. So they kick us to 2006 right after you get that great Biggie and Pac scene where they're discussing it and he's researching his role. They kick us to 2006, and you just kind of get Detective Kane talking with his son, and his son's giving his opinion on who he thinks is the Biggie, what the Biggie controversy is, and who he thinks killed Biggie, and he kind of gives his thing, and then his father shuts him down instantly by saying, well, what if that happened and this happened? And that's a kind of cool little scene. And then it jumps to 1997, and the guys are going about their day, and they're looking for donuts. I mean, it's a lot of interview stuff in the middle, and you kind of get lost in a lot of the things they're doing. But I feel like the main thing that they were really focusing on in this episode was the tension that was building on both sides in 97, when they were kind of coming to a hard place because they'd gotten all this information. They're trying to figure it out. Nobody talked to them. So now they're kind of like stuck trying to figure out what's their next move and where are they going to move. Where is this going to roll for them? And in 2006, they're really trying to remotivate this case again, because the 2 leads that they've done so far have just come to a wall. So now they have these tensions between basically the task force leader, which is Kane, and the other gentleman who's from the sheriffs, and they're fighting over control of basically the task force and who's doing it right. And it kind of goes to the Mack thing, where the Mack is the head honcho, the boss, the coolest dude, the one that controls it all. And I feel like the whole time that they're showing us all this different tension and controversy back and forth, is they're actually foreshadowing who's trying to be the Mack of the whole thing, who's trying to be the El Jefe overall, the boss over all of them, that's trying to run the task force in 2006. You got Kane and the sheriff fighting with each other. In 97, you got the 2 detectives fighting over what report they should properly fill out. Should they show that the actual cops are in it, or are they just going to show that they've interviewed a bunch of people and they're going to talk about the Crips and Keith D and things like that? So they're having their dispute there, and at the same time, Pac is researching a role for basically being the Mack, the pimp of the Harlem kingpin of the whole time. He's trying to be the Mack, so it's kind of got like this foreshadowing. Then it does have some great scene with Big in it from the old days. You got Big on the set of basically making the video for Juicy, and he's just not feeling it at all. Obviously, he went through the song at this point, but then Puffy's got this big vision for a song. He just doesn't understand it, and you could really see Puffy like being the Mack to Big and showing him that look, man, you got to ride with me. I believe in you. You got to believe in me. I got this vision. You see this mansion? This mansion going to be you in the future. Like, he's really hyping him up and pumping him up, and he's, like, trying to get him on that level. What I love is the actor's got that real good puffy energy. You can see that puffy energy in him because from all the different interviews and times of years of Puffy doing interviews, I mean, his energy is just on another level, and that's why that man is at the top of the game still and still running through the people because his energy is just another level. So I really like how they show that. They're trying to show, like, the struggle to be the Mack or the boss, and then the tension that goes on at the same time because they've been stonewalled in the case. And it feels like almost in a way that we're kind of getting stonewalled with this episode because outside of the few scenes you get, which with a lot of the back talk, the 97 and the 2006 is a lot of just getting kind of stonewalled at different places. They figure out a couple of new leads that one guy was faked his whole death this whole time, and he's been posing as someone different, and that's interesting. And then in 97, they get the big reveal at the end. But there is actually a couple things that do happen in the middle. So at the same time that all these things are going on, they kick back to after the Puffy and Big on the video set of Juicy, they kick back to Pac, and he's at a barbershop, and he's chatting up with Donald Faison. I don't know, they don't say who Donald Faison's character is, but I love the way that Donald Faison, the actor, is playing this role. He's playing this real mature, old school gangster trying to school Pac to the game. Like, look, man, look at that rollie on there. He's like, that's right there is everything. Right there is you have the Benz parked outside with the keys in it. He's like, that's your status symbol, all the chain and stuff. And then he shows Pac basically like how to be a Mack or how to be the band by like kicking this dude out of his barbershop who's trying to come for a cut. And then he shows him that he's got his strap on. Like, look, man, you better cut my hair. He's like, nah, man, you better get out of here. And before you leave, just for your trouble, you're gonna give me $20 to really show that he's pimping this dude and that you don't be disrespecting him in his hood. So that was really cool. That was some good elements in it. I thought Donald Faison really played that well. That was something I never seen from him. He's more of the goofy, always fun, energetic guy, and to see him play that role was definitely a change in pace. I really liked how they put him in that. So that was really cool, and I like those elements. But I felt like a lot of the 97 and the 2000 stuff just kind of gets stuck in the arguments back and forth between them, and they're just kind of like working out this tension between them. Some of the other big highlights I did like from the episode, the detective pool. He's got this other detective who's really showing interest for him and always flirting with them, and they finally do go on this date, and they start opening up to each other, and you find out that the gentleman that was on the missing person is his brother, and he's been missing for a very long time. Just one day he left the house, and he's never been seen for again. And he said he felt very embarrassed by that because he's a detective and he can't even find his own brother. So he really doesn't want that many people to know that. But he's trusting into this young lady because obviously he's attracted to her and he's got some feelings for her, and so he's starting to feel her. And then she just kind of humanly pays it back. But you could see the mentality in Poole's mind that he's a very broken man trying to do his best at his job and putting his all into this case and really focusing on it. I mean, they've been reinforcing that since the beginning, that Poole is driving this and really wants to solve that case. So it definitely had some great elements and things that they were trying to show about the whole element of the Mack and the different things, but I felt like a lot of the dialogue and interviewing some of the different people in the middle just kind of got a little boring and mundane in the middle, and just it wasn't really progressing the story. Now, I know it's 11 episodes and they got to fill a lot of space in, but I feel like they kind of got stuck in a gear in this episode, and outside of a few scenes, I feel like they really kind of rejuvenated the episode. It kind of get really lost in what they're going on. They did have a great end piece. So this all comes full circle at the end, where you have basically the detective in 1997, one of the buddies, who's actually the guy that's running the task force in 2006. He's got the bank robber, and he keeps going over the footage, and then he starts to notice something with the bank teller, and I really like that. And he sees that she kind of doesn't look scared, but kind of gives that guy a look like she knows him. So he goes and re-interviews her, and only to find out that she was in on this whole thing, and it was an inside job. She's like kind of like all weird and freaked out and claims she can get the money back. And he's like, what do you mean you can get the money back? She hands him a card, and it's a police card for David Mack. And it ends up that David Mack was robbed this bank for $772,000, and he's also associated with Suge Knight. They go and raid David Mack's house. They find all kinds of stuff. Lo and behold, they whip up the garage, and what's sitting in the garage, only like completely like them just like I feel like it was really set up, but it's a black Impala and then a poster of Tupac on the side. I mean, they were just like, look, There's connecting all the dots right there for you. It felt like they were pushing you into that area. So that had some great stuff to it, but that was really it. Like, I mean, you really had to push through it. I give them credit the first two. Like I said, they gave you those two big deaths in the beginning, so I was really wondering what was going to be the filler, and this one was just a lot of dialogue. Outside of the great scenes with Pac and Biggie back in the day, showing how they were coming up and all the different things they were going through, and then the the two in-piece robbery, a lot of it just kind of fell flat. I did see the little preview for the next episode. It does look like they're gonna maybe have a little tension, so maybe we just had to get through a kind of a quiet episode to kind of build up momentum, and maybe there's a good cliffhanger that will come in the 4 and 5, and they'll start to kind of build a story. But it's definitely got some great stuff when it comes to the two actors who are playing Biggie and Pac. That stuff is great. Hopefully this Task Force stuff gets a little more cleaned up. They have like a lot of little mysteries in the 2000 Task Force. You have the one Dupree, his boy. He's met with a shot caller. You don't really know why, but he's backing him. And then it's just kind of weird. It's got a lot of weird little treads they got going on that I feel like they're just kind of little side stories just to fill in the space, because they're kind of trying to get through a couple episodes before they really get to the meat and bones of the whole case and how things change. So we definitely got some things to look forward to, and hopefully things get better. Well, there you have it, folks. I don't feel like there was a lot on this episode, so I really don't want to sit here and bore you with any of that. But definitely, come back again next week. We'll have episode 4 ready and loaded. And I don't know if you're watching Atlanta on FX, but that show is out of control and amazing. I got season 1 recap. I'm also recap the first 2. Episode 3 comes out on Thursday. That'll be up on Friday. Until next time, folks. Good night, Ted.